Hi everyone, it is Mrs. Cafiero. Today we are starting a brand new module, Module 3, Lesson 1. The standards we are covering with this lesson are OA 1.1, OA 1.2, and MD 1.3. Today we are going to investigate and use the formulas for area and perimeter of rectangles. The materials that you are going to need for today's lesson are pencil, paper, and your math workbook. Go ahead and pause the video now to gather your materials. Now that we have our materials, let's go ahead and get started. So there is no application problem today. We're just going to dive right into our lesson. So for today's lesson, we will be working with two formulas, the formula for area and the formula for perimeter. So the formulas are written right down here. Area is length times width, and perimeter is 2 times length plus width. So whenever we look at our example here, the 4 units here that we see across the top, this is our width, and the 7 units long is our length. So in order to do our perimeter, we just took this 7 and plugged it into here where it says length, and this 4 plugged it into where it says width. We added the 7 plus 4, which gave us 11, multiplied that by 2, and there's our 22 units. For area, we just had to take these two numbers here, 4 and 7, and multiply them. And then we just had to write down how many square units we had. So the answer came out to 28 square units. Whenever you have area, it's always going to say square and then whatever the unit may be. In this case, it just says units, but it could be centimeters, millimeters, meters, liters, milliliters, whatever it may be. It's always square and then whatever the unit is. All right, let's go ahead and do our first example together. So we are going to solve for area and perimeter. So the 3 units across, this is our width. The 9 units long is our length. And if we recall our formulas, we know that area is length times width. So our length is 9 times our width is 3, and that's going to give us 27 square units. For our perimeter, we know that it's 2 times the length plus the width. So if we just plug in our numbers here, we've got 2 times 9 plus 3. Then we're going to go ahead and solve what's inside the parentheses first, and that's going to give us 12. So 2 times 12 is 24 units. So our perimeter is 24 units. Our area is 27 square units. For our next example, we're missing a piece of information here on our rectangle, and that's what we're going to solve for. The problem states that the perimeter of the following rectangle is 26 units. What is the missing sides measurement? Well, we know that whenever we solved perimeter last year, we would just take each side and we would add them all together. The formula that we're using this year, the 2 times length plus width, that's just a shortened version. You could just do length plus width, but it's much easier to just add length and width and multiply it by 2. In this case, we're going to have to do it the long way. So we're going to take this 5 units on this side and we're going to mirror it on the left. So 5 units. Okay, and we're going to take this X units on the bottom and mirror it on the top. So if we take our total width here, 5 plus 5, that's going to give us a total width of 10 units. And our perimeter is 26 units. So we can subtract these numbers and get 16 units. And this is going to be our total length. Now, we're not done because this is the top and the bottom added together. So we're going to take this 16 and we're going to divide it into 2 parts so we know what just one of these x's is going to equal. So 16 divided by 2, that's going to give us 8 units. So in this case, whenever we're looking for our final answer, 8 units is our final answer. You could also write it as x equals 8. Okay? Then we are going to solve for the area of this rectangle. So let me go ahead and erase some of this here so we have space. Okay? We know that x equals 8 units. Area is just length times width. So we take area equals 8 times 5, and we know that 8 times 5 is 40. And because it's area that we're searching for, it's 40 square units. Okay? Now, let's look at our next example, which is the opposite. It tells us what the area is this time, and we have to solve for the missing side here. So it tells us that the total area is 50 square centimeters, and one of the sides is 10 square centimeters. So we know that area is 50, length is 10, and width is question mark, we don't know. Whenever we traditionally solve for area, we do length times width. Well, we learned last year that if you have a missing number, so let's say it's 50 equals 10 times question mark, when we have a missing number here, we can't multiply. Instead, we have to use the opposite operation for the remaining two numbers, which is division. We have to divide. So we're going to take that 50 and divide 10, 50 divided by 10. And whenever we do that, we are going to get 5 centimeters. Now, I could have solved this by counting by tens until I get to 50. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. See how many fingers I'm holding up? I'm holding up 5 fingers. That's our answer. Okay, so 50 divided by 10 is 5 centimeters. So that means that this W equals 5 centimeters. Now, it asks us to now solve for the perimeter. So I'm going to erase all of this, and I'll write in what the W equals. So that's 5 centimeters. So remember that our perimeter is 2 times length plus width. So if we just plug in our numbers here, 2 times 10 plus 5, okay? 10 plus 5 is 15. 2 times 15. This is just repeated addition. It's 15 plus 15. When you add 15 together 2 times, we get 30 centimeters. So our perimeter is 30 centimeters, and our missing side for area is 5 centimeters. Now, you may be asking, why wasn't my answer 5 square centimeters? That's because that's only when you look for the total area, not the parts that make up the area. Okay? All right, and for our next problem, our next example together, it states if a rectangle has an area of 24 square units, what whole numbers could be the length and width of a rectangle? So remember, area is length times width. So we're looking for numbers that we multiply together to equal 24. So take a minute now and think about what two numbers can you multiply together that will equal 24. All right, so some numbers that you may get, and let me erase what I wrote here so that way you can actually see it. So some possible combinations, you could have gotten 8 and 3, 2 and 12, 6 and 4, 24 and 1. And these are called factors. So whenever we talk about numbers, like two numbers that you multiply together that make up a larger number, they are the factors of that number. So a pair of factors for 24 could be 8 and 3. It could be 6 and 4. It could be 12 and 2, and it could be 24 and 1. And this is generally how you would see factors represented. All right, for your problem set today, you're going to be in your brand new Module 3 math workbook on pages numbers 1 and 2. Your must-dos are 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, and 5A. Your can-dos are 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B, and 5B. Your challenge is number 6. If you or your parent did not come to the school on Friday and pick up your brand new Module 3 and 4 math workbooks, I have attached the problem set to the post where you found this video, so you can download the pages there and complete them. Please, please, please make sure that you or your parent comes and picks up those books as soon as possible, because we're going to be using them pretty much every single day, so you will need them. Once you finish with your problem set, please go in and complete the exit ticket under the assignments tab in the general channel. Make sure that you check your work before you submit and that you include the units. I will be taking off points if you do not include the units. It is important. It is part of the answer. So make sure that if it's asking for area, you put square units or whatever it is, square centimeters. If it's perimeter, make sure you include the unit, whether it's units or centimeters or whatever it asks for. And make sure that you include commas in your answers if it's 1,000 or greater, okay? Those things will be counting off if you don't have them starting this module. If you have any questions, please reach out in your private channel.